Bonjour tout le monde. I've had a chance to review the throne speech, and I have some preliminary remarks to make about it today. I must say that there's nothing really new in the throne speech. It's essentially the policies that the Liberals have announced for the past several months and broad platitudes. I will say there are some positive indications in that throne speech that New Democrats can support. For example, we have long been supporters of building a strong, independent Canadian economy and supporting Canadian companies making Canadian goods and services and becoming champions on the global stage, creating good jobs here at home. And we also are very much in favor of building a diversified trade relationship so that Canada can take better advantage of exporting our goods and services with reliable trade partners and reducing our reliance on the United States. We also are also pleased to see a commitment to promote more internal trade between Canadian provinces and territories and to facilitate labour mobility. We think that'll help build a stronger domestic Canadian economy. And finally, I'm glad to see that housing is mentioned in the throne speech. New Democrats have for decades been advocating for the federal government to play a stronger role in creating the millions of affordable homes that Canadians need from coast to coast to coast. I will say, on the more negative side, this is not a worker-centred throne speech, and I'm also very concerned about what is not mentioned in the throne speech. For example, the words healthcare are absent from the throne speech. You won't find any reference to Indigenous housing, perhaps the most acute need for affordable housing in the country within that important demographic group. And also, we're not seeing any of the kinds of protections that we think Canadian workers need to have in the face of the threats that Donald Trump's tariffs present to our country. Finally, I'm, I think, most concerned about the economic message sent in this throne speech. Essentially, they're cutting revenue to the federal government and at the same time saying that they're going to keep spending to under 2%, which is the rate of inflation or maybe under inflation. That can only mean one thing for Canadians. It means a cut to the public services that Canadians rely on. And so we'll be working hard in the House to bring these messages to the floor of the House of Commons and advocating for the kinds of services that we need, the protections Canadian workers want and deserve, and to build the kind of Canadian economy that we know Canada is so capable of and that Canadians so richly deserve.
I guess the King saying that he wants that Canada will become an energy superpower in the speech from the throne, and just the implications on resource development.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a passing reference to being an energy superpower involving clean or renewable energy. So to that degree, I think that that's a bit of an indication that the government recognizes that part of becoming an energy superpower in the 21st century is becoming a leader in renewable energy and sustainable energy sources. But it's something we're going to have to watch carefully. I think Canadians want to see Canada meet our international obligations that we've signed, for instance, in Paris and other ways. I think Canadians are very concerned about, our carbon emissions. And we're about to enter a season of where wildfires and floods have become the norm. And of course, there's a huge economic cost to not dealing with climate change in that context. So we're going to have to wait and see what the details are. This budget was long on platitudes, short on details. And I think when we talk about such important issues, this is where we really have to focus our efforts and find out exactly what they mean by this.
What did you mean by the throne speech committing Canada to the Rearm Europe plan?
Well, we haven't had a chance to really look into what that really means for Canada at this point. We'll be talking about that with our caucus. We'll have more to say about that.
Mr. Davies, when I was listening to the speech, you served under the last Harper government. You were here. The speech made me think of a Harper speech from the throne. And my colleague referenced no reference to climate change. We're talking about tough on crime. We're talking about defense spending. I wonder if you could reflect on that and what you heard at this speech that made you think Liberal government versus, let's say, a government of a different partisan stripe.
Yeah, I mean, the phrase that came to my mind is that this is not a worker-centered throne speech. I guess another way to put it is it also struck me as a bit of a conservative light throne speech. I think you're quite right to identify that there's many provisions of this throne speech that could easily have been written by a conservative government. I suppose if I had to strain for a few areas that I think would differentiate it, it would be in housing. There is a reference there. There is a reference to protecting Canadian culture and, for instance, institutions like the CBC Radio-Canada. I think Canadians do want to have strong Canadian cultural institutions at this time. I think that's a differentiation as well. But fundamentally, from an economic point of view, this is a very conservative throne speech. And I think it's going to be a very conservative government. And that's why New Democrats are going to be, I think, such an important voice as Parliament to be pushing for progressive policies. I'll finish with one last little example. The only reference to pharmacare and dental care were in protecting them. There is not a single reference to any expansion of those programs at all. And again, as I mentioned, how could you have a Canadian throne speech that fails to even use the words healthcare? So these are very alarming omissions to me. They're deliberate, they're not accidental, and I think it shows why New Democrats' voices are going to be so important in this minority parliament.
You're going to be supporting the throne speech.
We'll have to discuss the throne speech at our caucus meeting tomorrow. We'll make these decisions collectively, so we'll make that decision in the days ahead.
That there's two NDP members who are kind of in the corner here. They seem to have split up your caucus, and I'm curious, was that a decision of your caucus, or was this the government that decided let's split them up, and how do you feel about that?
Oh, it's just a decision of the House. It's just a question of the math. They had us all sitting together until the seat in Newfoundland flipped, and when that flipped, then there was no way to have all seven of us together on the one side, so they told us that they could have either one or two on the other side, so we decided that we'd rather have two people sitting together.
So it should be read as the government thinking these two might vote with us a bit more.
Not at all.
Thank you very much.